Alrighty, hello everybody. I am here today to discuss with you a shift in the way this channel will be handled going forward. So, just a little bit of background. Um, the channel was created with the intention of supporting value and intention-based education, also known as VIBE. That will not necessarily be changing, but there will be more of an expansion around the topics that are discussed and quite a bit more frequency. I also realized I've never shared my story with you guys, and to help you understand why I'm making these changes, it's necessary to share with you sort of who I am, where I came from, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, I grew up in a very religious Christian home. My father was a minister. We lived a very sheltered life. Our church was pretty small, and I went to the private school that was part of the church, which was even smaller. At times there were even just a handful of kids, and sometimes there were not any kids my age even. We were not allowed to watch television, listen to secular music, really do anything outside of the church. Although my mom would sneak us out for movies every now and then, so I did see a couple of movies. But in general, life was pretty restrictive. There was just a butterfly outside my window, so I love that sign. So as with most people, and especially children, they're like a rubber band. If you hold them back and hold them back, and then all of a sudden you let them go, they're going to catapult to the other side of the spectrum. So when I had the chance, well, I guess I should back up and say my parents separated many times. We moved quite a bit. There was not a lot of stability. The last time they split, my mom invited to live with us another man who was physically abusive, and so when he pinned me up against the wall by my ribcage, I told my mom, I'm not tolerating this. I won't live like this. And she said, well, you won't survive without me. And I said, watch me. And I crawled out the window, and at 16 I was living on my own. And that's really when my rubber band moment happened, where first it was cigarettes, and then it was marijuana and alcohol, and just really exploring all of the things. I had started public school when I was 15, so I was really only a year into it at the time, and hanging with the wrong crowd. What's funny is I remember the moment where I had a choice. I kind of dress a little preppy. I kind of liked some of the preppy girls, but and they were welcoming. But what I realized really quickly within the first few days was that they were backstabbing each other and just really nasty. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And so I didn't go necessarily to the really bad group, but just kind of the exploratory group. I had some really great friends. Lisa and Kim, if you ever watch this video, and Melissa, and gosh, our whole group was just amazing. So, good friends. And I probably was the worst of the group as far as exploring things and breaking rules and skipping school. I was living on my own. So, anywho, I really rejected the church and religion, and went on my own path. And I remember that moment where I made that decision, and I knew that, it was going to be a change. There was definitely a big shift in my life when I made that conscious choice. And things got pretty bad. At the worst point, some of our friends were doing cocaine all night long and into the morning, and luckily I never really got too deep into that. But I was dating someone who was, and even more than that, and I thank God to this day that he wouldn't really tell me what it was, and I never really knew. I just kind of thought he was smoking pot, but he wasn't. And it was that same boyfriend, actually, where I was living with him, and we were in his mom's trailer, and we didn't have food. I just remember white bread and Kool-Aid was this is the sustenance, I guess you would say. So, and I made a decision that I was not going to live life like that. And it's interesting how, looking back now for the purposes of this video, that I've seen a couple of really key moments, pivotal moments in my life where I made a choice and said, my life's not going to be this way. And I tapped into that warrior archetype, and turned things around quite successfully multiple times. And this was one of them, where I got my own apartment. I was working 3 jobs. I was sleeping every other night. I was still going to high school and graduated. While not something you would brag about, I received the Most Improved Award, and decided to go to college, and I graduated with no issues, and went on to tech school for a couple years, paid for that as I went, which I discovered was going to take me forever to do. So eventually I did just dive in full force, and even moved myself to Chicago. I went to the University of Illinois at Chicago and received a bachelor's degree and got a pretty good job. From a societal perspective, I did a pretty good job at turning my life around. From an emotional perspective, I still very much struggled. I had a lot of depression and anxiety as a kid. Now that I know better, I know it's because I was missing those key pieces. You can't have one giant piece of the pie missing, like social interaction, without having social and emotional issues. I tried to fill that void with relationships. I was looking for love through men, and alcohol was socially acceptable, so that was the self-medication of choice. And unfortunately, I got pregnant outside of wedlock, and my boyfriend pushed for an abortion. His parents pushed for an abortion. I remember I was driving back from his parents' house on a very large bridge on the south side of Chicago, and I remember having the thought, I would rather drive myself off this bridge than kill my child. And so that was, again, another one of those pivotal moments where it was like, pulled myself up by those bootstraps. We're going to make this work. I got a better job. I was able to support him, no problem. His father actually ended up being pretty involved. His grandparents love him dearly to this day. So it was obviously the right choice. It was hard, and about 2 years in, I really was struggling with depression. I had tried to make it work with his father. His father was never very nice to me. Come to find out down the road, my father was a narcissist. His father, or my partner at that time, was a narcissist, and my soon-to-be ex-husband is also a narcissist. So learned a lot about the self-service energy that we have in the world today, that we're all dealing with. So I decided to see a therapist. Thank God. I got a good one, and that doesn't always happen, but I wish I could remember his name. I would write him such a beautiful thank you letter today, because he really saved my life. He suggested the book A Peaceful Mind, and if anybody's struggling with depression or anxiety, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a very easy, quick read, a day or two, and you'd be through it. But what I did not realize at the time was I was very much in a dark night of the soul, and everything seemed stuck and impenetrable, and as if it was never going to change, and nothing shifted, and there was no growth, and I just felt like I was condemned to hell forever. And when I read that book, I could not believe I literally had spent the first 27 years of my life asleep. I had no idea how unconscious I was, how all of these thoughts that were creating my reality, creating my feelings, creating my emotions, were happening on autopilot without any conscious management or awareness. No awareness at all. And what an eye-opener to realize I have taken everything in my life personally. I have created all of my problems. It just the the doors that opened to growth and expansion were incredible, and that's when I really started to explore what someone called the more metaphysical world. Astrology, it was very helpful in personal growth and self-awareness, and that opened the door to understanding the energetics and the soul and the pain body and the energy inside of us and outside of us and chakras and all the good stuff. Understanding that there is life in all things, trees, plants, animals, just really coming to a healthy respect for life and all that it has to offer. And what's interesting was there was, when was that? That was about 2012. And it's now 2021. So, 11 years, that's a good number, isn't it? Hey, I would even say I think I've gone down the twin flame path too, which is a fun one. But point being, after 11 years of exploring the metaphysical world, it's interesting how it's all kind of come full circle for me. That when I understand the divine or the universe or that benevolent force that is with us in everything, that is God. And that's amazing. That really touches my heart. And he does love us so much. And life is happening for us, not to us. And it's amazing how the church has ruined some of the most beautiful things that God intended us to benefit from. Pardon my crying. What's funny is this is the second video and I did not cry the first time, so I guess my heart is really touched by the dream, the recent goal of bringing these pieces together. That there are some really good people out there, some huge, giant-hearted people in the Christian community who strive so hard to do the right thing and to give and to serve and to be selfless and to live a Christ-like life. And they do a pretty good job. Most of them do an amazing job. A lot of them do, not most. I won't put numbers to things, but they still struggle. They sometimes live in poverty or in a lack mentality because of the belief that we have to be self-sacrificing, and that is different than selfless. That there's a lot of guilt and shame where even just a negative thought that is not yours, that does not define you, it can make them feel the shame and guilt that the church has put on a lot of Christians that I don't believe comes from God. God is love, period. That's it. And it's been so overcomplicated, as with most things in our life, to control and deceive. And I'm feeling very called to make more videos around not just the social emotional lessons and learnings that I wish I had received as a kid around so many things, thought management, emotion management, things of that nature, but also how there is a bridge between the metaphysical and the spiritual world. Or I should say I don't want to say religion. I need to find a better way to say that. That there are truths in the Bible and truths in religion, but there are also truths in the spiritual community and in the metaphysical world where they need to be married. That God is an abundant God, and the divine and the universe and whatever benevolent force that you feel you know in your heart is made of pure love, that is also God. It really doesn't matter what name you give it, although he would prefer to be called God. I want to help bring together the abundance and the manifestation and the law of attraction that is available to us, as well as the good-hearted, kind people who are truly trying to do the right thing and be in service to others and to bring about heaven on earth. We can go back to the Garden of Eden. It is here available to us now. We just need to understand how to bring them together. So, value and intention-based education is not going away. It has not been as successful as I would have liked because the public school system is not able to or ready to adopt lessons outside of the Common Core curriculum. While social emotional learning is on the uptick, it is not currently focused on some of the things that I believe need to be addressed. So we will continue to work on those things and hear about, and I hope to be having some guests on in the near future to talk about this as well. So that's, I think, enough for today. I love you guys so much, and I really look forward to being of service to you and hopefully helping to make a difference. I am always available for coaching or just an ear if you need someone to talk to. So feel free to reach out. That's Rebecca at vibeimap.com. And we'll talk soon. Take care.